Assalamu alaikum. Listen carefully, you chosen one, because what you are about to hear does not come by chance. If this message reaches you today, it is no coincidence. This is because Allah wants you to know something. You passed the last test, and now the sky is ready to lean into you, ready to release what you've been waiting for in silence for so long. You are not like the others. What you went through, what you endured in silence without complaining, without giving up, all of this has been seen. You suffered in the shadows, you prayed in solitude, you cried without witnesses, and yet you have not turned your back on your Lord. You stayed, you held on, and that perseverance is what set you apart. How many gave up along the way? How many have doubted their faith when answers were slow? How many fled when Allah tested them? But you stayed there. You continued to trust, even when everything seemed broken, even when you no longer understood anything. You said, "Ya Allah, I stay with you." This is what it means to pass the final test. This is not an achievement visible to people. It is a feat that only the sky saw. And now it is precisely the sky which is about to respond. The doors that you could never open alone, Allah will open them before you. The blessings you could only imagine, Allah will place them in your hands. What you are experiencing now is the end of one season and the beginning of another. You may not realize it yet, but your life is changing, and this change is not due to chance. It is the result of your endurance, of your loyalty, of your faith, which has not wavered. The signs that you have just passed the final ordeal are not always spectacular. They don't always manifest through obvious visions or dreams. They manifest themselves in the silent wear and tear of your soul, in this fatigue that you feel without being able to explain it, in this feeling of having been rushed, emptied, broken, without anything around you really justifying this state. What you experienced was an invisible war, a final test, deeper than all the others. You have been tested at the level of the heart. Allah wanted to see if your love for Him was stronger than the circumstances. He wanted to see if you could stand when everything inside you was screaming to sit down. You were tested, not in outward things, but in your silence, your waiting, your constancy, your naked faith. The world around you may not have known what you were going through, but Allah knew, and He wrote it all down. You may have seen doors closing one after the other, people moving away for no reason, projects failing at the last moment. This was not an oversight on the part of Allah. It was a final purification, a desired countdown, the ultimate test to separate what is false from what is true in you. Because before granting a major blessing, Allah always tests the depth of the intention. He wants to know, are you there for me or for the gifts I give? And you showed that you stayed for Him, even when the donations had disappeared. You passed the exam that many fail, the ordeal of waiting without explanation, and now that you have made it to the end, now that you have not fled, that you have not cursed, that you have not given up the sky, tilts not congratulate you, but to entrust you with something greater. Because those who resisted until the end are those who are prepared for sacred missions. You may have wondered why Allah was silent for so long, why He seemed absent as you cried out to Him, why the nights were long, the prayers full of tears, but with no visible answer. This silence was the real test, not to make you doubt, but to strengthen you. When Allah loves a servant, He elevates him, and when He wants to raise him higher than others, He makes him pass through a fire that others could not bear. The silence of Allah is never abandoned. It is often a mark of trust, a sacred space where He watches if you still choose Him, even when He doesn't speak. He tested you like He tested the prophets, letting the desert settle around you to see if you would follow Him without a map, without an apparent path, just with your heart as your compass. Those who complain at the first silence cannot bear the great responsibilities. But you stayed there, Even when your soul cried out for understanding, you chose submission. Even when you could have fled, you remained in prostration. And that's where you stood out, not in great victories, but in your hidden endurance. You have been faithful in the invisible. The silence of Allah has refined your soul. He detached you from what was superficial. He taught you to pray without interest, to love without proof, to believe without conditions. And this is what few understand. Allah does not trust just anyone. He forges his chosen ones in the invisible, in solitude, in silence, because those whom he calls to carry the light must first know how to walk in the darkness without going out. Now that you understand the silence, you can hear the whisper of destiny. Now that you have not retreated from the void, you are ready to receive what was hidden. And the sky was only waiting for this moment. And now things are starting to happen slowly, discreetly, but deeply. Maybe you don't know how to explain it yet, but something inside you has changed. A strange peace has descended on your heart, not a peace that comes from circumstances, but a peace from heaven. You don't panic like before. You no longer run after what is running away. You feel that something is aligning, even without seeing the results yet. This is the first sign that the sky started to move for you. Allah always starts by working in you before working around you. And now that your interior is stabilized, he begins to touch your exterior. The openings will come, blessings too, but not all at once, not in chaos. They will come like gentle rain after a long drought. Maybe you'll meet people you haven't seen in a long time. Maybe an unexpected opportunity will present itself. Maybe a project frozen for months will suddenly come back to life. These things are not coincidences. These are the fruits of your endurance. Allah never forgets what you sowed in tears. You have no idea what He has prepared for you. You have been tested deeply, so He will bless you deeply. It won't just be a momentary relief. It will be a tipping point, a shift from a season of trials to a season of demonstrations, not just for your comfort, but because He wants to make you a witness to His faithfulness. You are not forgotten, you are visited, and this visitation comes from above. It will not depend on your efforts or your intelligence. It will come like a sudden light in a dark room. It is Allah who brings it. It is He who changes the seasons. Do you feel this turning point in the air? It's not an impression, it is a spiritual reality. Get ready, what you've been waiting for is on its way. Don't minimize how you feel right now. This is not pride, nor exaggeration. It is a new consciousness, a profound awakening. You feel like you're ready not because you have it all figured out, but because you have been through it all. And this is what Allah looks at. It is not your perfection that interests Him. It is your submission, your constancy, your loyalty. People don't know how many times you had to rebuild yourself in silence. They don't know the nights you felt lost, but still got up to pray to Him. They don't know everything you had to let go of, everything you had to sacrifice to stay in the light of Allah. But Allah knows, and He says to you now, you are ready. You are no longer a seed, you are a tree, and it is time to bear fruit. Your preparation has been long, because your mission is great. What you are going to experience now will not be for you alone, it will be for others too. Allah will make you a refuge, a source, a living example, not for your glory, but for His name to be lifted up through your life. Because when He elevates an elected official, it is never just to comfort them. It is to make them become a channel of blessing. And now that you've been through the fire, you can carry the fire, not the one that burns, but the one that illuminates, the fire of faith, the fire of hope, the fire of right speech. You are called to speak with wisdom, to walk with authority, to live with clarity. What you say will have weight, not because you impose yourself, but because you were formed in suffering. You are ready, not just to receive, but to transmit, not just to live, but to guide. You are no longer in the season where you hide. You are entering the season where Allah positions you, and you won't be alone. The angels will walk with you. You will soon understand why everything had to happen this way, why you had to go through the incomprehension, the delays, the losses, the silences. All this was not a coincidence, nor an oversight from heaven. It was a divine orchestration calibrated for you, for your call, for the mission that awaits you. Now the blessings that come into your life will not be like those of others. They will bear the trace of your endurance. They will not be superficial or fleeting. They will be durable, because the price was paid in the invisible. What you will see now are the rewards of painful but sincere obedience. You are an elected official, and the elected officials are led differently. They don't experience the seasons like others. They are often isolated when others are celebrated. They are often tested when others are blessed. But when the hour of recovery arrives, they receive what no one can imitate, because it is not the world that gives to them. It is Allah, and Allah never gives half. When He blesses, He transforms. When He raises up, He establishes. When He honors, He does so before angels and men. And now that you're ready, He will present you to the world as a living testimony of His faithfulness. It will not be boasting or arrogance. This will be the confirmation of His promise over your life. You won't need to fight to make yourself heard. What you wear will speak for you. The doors will open, hearts will soften, the resources will come, not because you run after them, but because they are assigned to you. You no longer need to prove anything. You have entered a season where Allah Himself justifies your journey. Get ready. What you are experiencing now, it is not the end of a fight. It is the beginning of a spiritual reign. The people who saw you fall will soon see you get up again. But this recovery will not be ordinary. It won't just be a matter of picking up your life where it left off. No, what you are going to experience is a heavenly recovery, an elevation carried by the hand of Allah Himself. Those who thought it was over for you will witness the opposite, and don't think that it's to silence them that this will happen. It's not for revenge. It's not to prove to them that you were right. This is because Allah wants His power to be seen through your recovery. He has kept your fall hidden, but He will expose your victory. He has allowed rejection in silence, but He will glorify your return in broad daylight. Their words did not destroy you, even if they hurt you. Their betrayals didn't stop you, even if they slowed you down. And today, it is this fidelity that heaven rewards. They have seen your tears, but they will also see your light. You did not need to respond to their attacks, because Allah was preparing a greater response. Your transformation now is not the time to explain, it's time to protest. Your silence was prophetic. Your patience was a heavenly strategy, and now that heaven is acting for you, things will speed up. Those who doubted will be confused. Those who despised you will be astonished, and those who abandoned you will want to come back. But you won't have a bitter heart, because when Allah elevates, He also purifies the heart. You haven't lost anything. You have been protected. What you thought was loss was actually preservation. And now, what you receive is not a simple reparation. It is a blessing multiplied. It is the culmination of a long silence, of a sacred fire, of a silent call that only Allah had heard. The time has come. You no longer need to hide. You are ready to walk like the chosen one that you are. You are entering a season where Allah's favor will accompany you wherever you go. You'll see doors open before you even hit them. Situations that seemed blocked to you for years will suddenly become unblocked, without effort, without noise. It's not because you've gotten stronger or smarter. This is because Allah's time has finally arrived. And when Allah's time comes, nothing can stop it. Not people, not the circumstances, not even your own doubts. You have reached the end of a training cycle, and heaven is ready to release what is yours. You are not early, you are not late, you are on time, exactly where you were supposed to be. What you will receive is linked to what you have become, and what you have become is the fruit of everything you have been through. That's why you can't fail now. You have been refined like gold, polished like a diamond. Trials did not destroy your value, they revealed it, and now, the world will see what heaven always saw in you. Be ready to see divine connections. Allah will place people on your path who will recognize what you are wearing, not out of jealousy, but out of spiritual confirmation. They will not know you by your name, but by your fruit, and they will open up spaces for you that you could never have reached alone. For when Allah elevates a chosen one, He also places around him those who can bear this elevation. You will no longer have to fight to exist. Your mere presence will carry weight. Your voice will be heard, not because it cries loudly, but because it carries the wisdom of Him who formed you in secret. You no longer seek to convince. You now embody what you believed. And remember this, the goal was never just to bless you, but to transform you. And this transformation is nearing completion. Now you can enter into your inheritance, without fear, without doubt, with the certainty that everything that happens now is an extension of your faithfulness. Chosen one, the time has come to walk in what you have waited for, prayed for, hoped for, and sometimes even despaired of. What you are experiencing now is not a coincidence, it is a divine visitation. You passed the final test, not because you never doubted, but because despite the doubt, you stayed. You remained faithful. You stayed standing. You remained in the presence of Allah, even when everything seemed dark. And now heaven opens a new page for you. This is no longer the chapter of trials. This is the chapter of accomplishments. But be careful, this is not the end. This is just the beginning of another dimension of your calling. Because with honor comes responsibility, with blessing comes mission. You were not raised up to sit, but to rise and shine. You will be a living sign that those who hope in Allah are never put to shame. Your life will become a silent but powerful testimony. People will see what God can do with someone who doesn't give up, with someone who does not seek to shine, but only to please his Lord, with someone who accepts being broken to become useful. Stay humble, remain submissive, never let elevation make you forget who raised you. For the same Allah who gives can take away. But if He sees in you a sincere heart, He will never stop elevating you, not for your glory, but for His light through you. You have been chosen for a generation. You are the first in 1,000 years to stand up, not run. Walk slowly, with dignity, with faith. The moment is sacred. What you wear is too big to be treated as ordinary. You are a bearer of destiny, an heir of mercy, a servant of Allah destined to mark His era. So get up, walk, and don't look back. The sky is ready. The earth is waiting. You pray that Allah will grant you a pious, gentle, loyal wife. But do you really know what she expects from you once she's here? What a Muslim wife deeply desires is beyond words, beyond appearances. It's not just a roof over your head or a simple status as a wife. It's something much deeper, much more sacred. In this video, you will discover what your wife really wants from you, not according to society, not according to cliches, but according to Allah's principles. And if you're already married or on the path to marriage, this message could well transform your relationship and your destiny. 1. Respect, the silent essence of love. Do you really want to know what your wife expects from you? Then don't look for the answer in what people say. Look for it in what your silence conveys to her, because there is a form of respect that cannot be spoken, but rather felt. Respect is not diplomacy. It is not about appearances. It is an inner light, that says, I recognize you, I value you, I do not dominate you, I honor you. When a woman feels respected, she opens up. When she feels ignored, she closes off. And that's where many men fail. They want love without building the space where that love can exist safely. Respect begins with the gaze. Not a hurried gaze, not a judgmental gaze, but a gaze that says, I see you. She wants to be seen, not just looked at, seen in her efforts, in her fatigue, in her silence, in her sacrifices that no one notices except the one who knows the invisible. This respect is manifest in your voice, that tone you choose, even when you're upset, because what you say in a moment of anger can leave a mark no caress can erase. She expects you to understand that she is not your adversary in this home. She is your mirror, your support, your responsibility. She wants you to treat her like an amanah, a precious trust entrusted to you by the one who observes all. She wants you to respect her time. When she's tired, don't ask her to outdo herself to prove her worth. When she's silent, don't accuse her of indifference. When she doubts, don't trample her with proud certainties. She wants you to respect her word, even if you don't agree. She wants to be able to express herself without fear of being ridiculed. Let her feel that her voice matters, even when you don't agree with everything she says. She wants you to respect her heart. And respecting a woman's heart isn't idealizing it, it's protecting it, even from yourself. How many men say, I love her, but destroy her essence with their words, their forgetfulness, their indifference? That's not love, it's disguised attachment. Respect is when you pay attention, even to what you don't yet understand. When you choose patience over sarcasm. When you prefer humility to control, because deep down, what she's looking for isn't a perfect man. He's a sincere man, present and humble enough to say, I'm not always fair, but I will always make the effort to treat you with nobility. She wants you to make her feel that love isn't a burden, but a peace too. 2. Listening, the language of the heart. Imagine she comes home after a long day. She doesn't say much at first. You barely notice. Then she moves closer, sits down, and begins to speak softly. But your mind is elsewhere, on your phone, your work, your worries. You nod, you hear her, but you don't listen. And she senses it, because a woman isn't just looking for a man who hears words. She's looking for a heart that receives her heart. Listening isn't a reflex, it's an act of presence. And in truth, what she hopes for is for you to be there, truly there, not to fix things, not to react, but to feel. She doesn't want your intelligence, she wants your compassion. She doesn't always want an answer, she wants a refuge. You know there are pains that don't seek a cure, they just seek a witness, a look that understands, an ear that doesn't judge. And often what your wife is waiting for is exactly that. A loving silence that speaks louder than 1,000 words. When she tells you something that touches her, she's sharing a piece of herself with you, not so you can compare or correct, but so you can welcome it. Listening is the moment when you say to yourself, what she's going through is important to me, because she is important to me. And in that moment you pause to honor her, not to win an argument, but to strengthen a bond. Because she's not looking for a man who speaks loudly, but one who knows how to silence the world so she can hear herself. You'll notice one thing. When she feels listened to, she becomes gentle. Her tone changes. Her gaze softens. Her body relaxes. It's as if, through your listening, she regains confidence. And you know why. Because she feels she's no longer alone in her emotions. When you listen to her with your heart, you don't just soothe her words, you heal something inside her. And don't think it's a waste of time, because it's in moments like these that you build a love that can't be bought, a love rooted in sincere attention. Do you want to know how to listen to her? Turn off the noise, cut off the distractions, Look into her eyes. Let your heart become a space where she can unload her pain without fear. She wants to know that even if the world doesn't listen to her, you will. And when she feels that, she'll love you in a way you won't even have the words to describe. 3. Emotional security, the shelter she's waiting for. She never asked for you to be perfect, but she prays for you to be stable. Not the man of grand speeches, but the one whose heart doesn't sway in the slightest wind. Because in her vision of marriage, there is one thing she hopes for, more than anything: inner peace. And this peace begins where your character becomes a shelter she can enter without fear of being hurt, judged, or ignored. In Islam, home is called sakan, not just a house, but a place where the soul rests, where the storms of life are extinguished in the warmth of a look, a kind word, a steady attitude. She wants you to be that sakan, not just the roof over her head, but the calm behind her emotions. She doesn't ask for the physically strongest man. She expects the man who can contain a storm without becoming chaos himself. One who doesn't lash out when upset. One who doesn't use silence as punishment. One who knows that love doesn't live in fear, but in consistency. Emotional security is when she knows her tears won't be minimized, that she can break down without being seen as weak, that she can laugh out loud without being called immature, that she can doubt, confide, be vulnerable and be welcomed, not corrected. She wants to be able to be herself, without negotiation, not a polished version to please you, but whole, real, human. And that despite her flaws, you stay, not out of duty, but out of loyalty. Do you want to know what a real man does? He protects, not just from external dangers, but also from his own excesses, his anger, his harshness, his sharp words. She expects a man who fights for her, not by shouting loudly in the streets, but by fighting internally against his own impulses, so as not to hurt her. True virility is knowing she's a sensitive woman and making this sensitivity a priority, not a weakness. She wants to feel that next to you, she can breathe without a mask, without restraint, without fear. Do you want her to love you with a sincere and deep love? Then become that emotional security, not with grand promises, but with small daily victories. Being calm when you could get angry, listening to her when you'd rather run away, reassuring her when she doubts, defending her even against your own clumsiness. That's when you'll become what she's been waiting for, a refuge, a man who reminds her that despite everything, she's never alone. 4. Daily effort. Love in action. Love isn't what you say on the day of the nikah, it's what you do afterward, every day, even on ordinary days, especially on days when nothing compels you to do anything, except a sincere intention. Love is getting up and saying today again, I will deserve her presence, not with grand promises, but with a smile in the morning, a hand that helps without waiting, a look that says, I see your fatigue, and I am here. She's not looking for the man who loved her once. She's looking for the one who loves her every day. Not in words, but in gestures. Not in memories, but in consistency. Do you want her to feel that she matters? So don't let her carry the burden of the home alone. Don't be that man who prays at the mosque, but whose house weeps in silence. Be the one who understands that effort is also worship, that serving with love is an act of nobility. When you help her, it's not because she can't, it's because she shouldn't have to carry everything alone. Love doesn't wear out when you give. It grows stronger, like a muscle, like faith, like prayers repeated day after day. She wants to know that you don't take your marriage for granted, that it is always an active choice, not a passive achievement. Every gesture is a reminder, a flower watered, a bond strengthened, a heart reassured, preparing her favorite dish, sending her a message for no reason, paying attention to the details she thinks are invisible. That's love. You see, there are men who want grateful women, but they forget to sow what deserves gratitude. Love isn't a debt she owes you, it's a wealth you build with her. She wants to feel that even when routine sets in, your effort remains alive, that you still choose to honor her, even when no one is watching, because that's where the beauty of marriage lies, in the sincerity that repeats itself tirelessly. The daily effort is your silent declaration, I love you enough to start over every day. And that love, she'll never forget, because it's not the love of fairy tales. It's the one for men who understand that behind every smile from their wife, there's a heart waiting to be seen, held, loved again. 5. A spiritual connection, growing together toward Allah. There comes a time when earthly love is no longer enough. A time when a woman no longer seeks a husband just for the sake of the dunya, but a soulmate, an ally for eternity. What she truly desires is not a man who ties her to this world, but a man who elevates her to that which is above all, toward Allah. She wants to feel that her faith is safe by your side, that you are not just a physical presence, but a spiritual light, someone who inspires her to remember her ultimate goal, to be a beloved servant of Allah. It is not in beautiful words that she seeks faith, but in your simple gestures, when you gently wake her to pray, when you make dua for her without telling her, when you refuse to do what is forbidden even in secret, for fear of displeasing your Lord. That's when she feels you are truly a man who guides, not by authority, but by love. A woman wants your love for her to be an extension of your love for Allah, not a fleeting passion, but a bond rooted in sincerity and piety. She wants you to be her spiritual mirror, someone who doesn't just walk by her side, but helps her climb the slopes of sabr, cross the valleys of doubt, and reach the peaks of tranquility. A Muslim couple is not two people who love each other only for the pleasure of the moment. They are two hearts beating to the rhythm of dhikr, remembering life after death, and moving forward each day, hand in hand, toward Allah's contentment. She wants your faith to be contagious, so that she can say to herself, when I'm by his side, I feel closer to my Creator. And you, if you want her to follow you, don't push her, turn toward Allah with sincerity, and she will follow you naturally, not because you imposed your path on her, but because she will see in you a beacon, a landmark, a spiritual refuge. It's not enough to love her for the dunya, you must also love her for the akhirah, love her soul, love her path to Jannah, and make sure that your presence brings her closer to this destination, because ultimately what she hopes for is not only to grow old by your side, but to find herself with you again, one day under the shadow of the throne. Your wife is not just your obligation, she is your test, your blessing, and perhaps even your gateway to paradise. What you choose to do with her heart, her peace, her trust, will be recorded in your ledger. Don't be the man who realizes too late what he has lost. If this video spoke to you, share it with a brother, a future husband, a husband who wants to do better. Love in Islam is a journey, not a moment. And that journey begins today, with an intention and an action. In the hustle and bustle of life, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We often get caught up in worldly pursuits, our jobs, our families, our personal goals, and sometimes forget that our primary purpose in this world is to worship and serve Allah. We are not here by chance. We have been created with a specific mission to live a life that pleases Allah, to fulfill our duties to Him, and to follow the path of righteousness. However, in this journey of life, the people we surround ourselves with play a huge role in shaping our actions, attitudes, and behaviors. This is why it is crucial to be mindful of the company we keep. There are certain individuals who neglect their duties to Allah, those who have no concern for their prayers, who disregard the importance of seeking knowledge, and who fail to fulfill their religious obligations. Their actions can easily mislead us, causing us to forget our purpose and lead a life of spiritual neglect. In this video, we will discuss why it is so important to stay away from people who neglect their duties to Allah, how their influence can affect us, and the consequences of ignoring our obligations to our Creator. Throughout this discussion, we will explore the importance of fulfilling our duties to Allah, the impact of neglecting them, and how our relationships with others can either help us grow closer to Allah or push us away from Him. So let's see why it is crucial to avoid those who neglect their duties to Allah, and how we can protect ourselves from their influence. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to Deen Explorers for more content like this. Stay away from people who ask you for your wealth without need. We live in a world where some people, unfortunately, will ask for money for selfish reasons or out of greed. They may not have any genuine need, but instead seek to exploit others' kindness for their own personal gain. Allah has warned us about this in the Qur'an. The act of giving is noble, but it must come from a place of sincerity. It should not be used by others to manipulate, control, or take advantage of us. We are encouraged to give charity to those who truly need it, but we must also be wise in recognizing when someone is not genuinely in need. It's also vital to understand that wealth is a test from Allah. He may give us abundance to see how we will use it, whether we will spend it wisely or waste it on things that are not beneficial. One of the most important lessons in managing wealth is learning not to allow others to drain us emotionally, mentally, or financially. We should be mindful of our own resources and ensure that our wealth is used in ways that align with Allah's teachings, helping those who truly deserve it. Sometimes people may try to guilt-trip you or make you feel responsible for their financial problems. They may say things like, "You're the only one who can help," or "You have enough, so why not share?" While it's important to show compassion and care for others, it's equally important to set boundaries. You have the right to protect your wealth from being misused, just as you have the right to help those who are truly in need. Moreover, when we become too generous with people who take advantage of us, we are essentially helping them to continue in a pattern of dependency and irresponsibility. This can create a cycle where they no longer learn to rely on themselves, and this dependency can harm both them and us in the long run. Instead of enabling them, it is often more beneficial to offer guidance, encourage self-sufficiency, and help them find solutions that do not solely rely on the generosity of others. We must also remember that true wealth in Islam is not measured by how much money we have, but by how we use what we have been given. The more we give in the way of Allah's, the more blessings we will receive. But these blessings come not just from the money we give, but from the intention behind it. If our intention is pure and we are sincere in our efforts, Allah will reward us, even if the amount we give is small. We must always be careful when someone asks us for money, especially if they do so frequently and without showing any real need. Islam teaches us to help others, but it also teaches us to be wise and cautious with how we manage our wealth. By staying aware and using our resources responsibly, we can ensure that we are always in line with the values that Allah has set for us, giving when it's right, and staying away from those who seek to take advantage of our generosity. Stay away from people who encourage you to sin. Sin is a heavy burden that can weigh down a person's heart, and it is something that Islam warns us against at every turn. We all know that life is full of challenges, and sometimes we may be tempted to stray from the righteous path. However, one of the most dangerous influences that can pull us further away from Allah are the people around us, the ones who encourage or lead us into sin. These individuals can come in many forms, from friends to family members, colleagues, or even strangers, but they all share one thing in common: they pull us away from the straight path. In Islam, staying away from sin is not just a matter of personal choice, but a matter of protecting one's faith. Allah has given us clear guidance on how to live our lives, and any encouragement to step outside of these guidelines should be recognized as a harmful influence. The importance of choosing the right company cannot be overstated. The people we surround ourselves with play a critical role in shaping our thoughts, actions, and ultimately our fate in this life and the hereafter. Moreover, sin not only affects us in this world, but also in the hereafter. Allah makes it clear that sin has consequences, and those who persist in it without repentance will face His punishment. However, when we are surrounded by people who normalize sin or actively encourage it, we are putting our own salvation at risk. It is easy to justify actions when others around us are doing the same, but we must remember that on the Day of Judgment, we will stand alone before Allah, and we will be accountable for our actions. Staying away from people who encourage us to sin is one of the most important steps we can take to protect our faith. We must recognize the influence that those around us have on our lives, and be mindful of the relationships we cultivate. Our ultimate goal should be to please Allah, and that means avoiding the company of those who lead us away from Him. Choose your friends wisely, and seek out those who will guide you toward righteousness. Stay away from people who lie and spread rumors. In this world, one of the most destructive forces is falsehood. Lies and rumors can tear apart relationships, damage reputations, and cause unnecessary pain. Islam has always emphasized the importance of truth and the destructive nature of dishonesty. It is no surprise that Allah commands His believers to always speak the truth and avoid spreading falsehood. The Qur'an is clear on the consequences of those who engage in lying and spreading rumors and the harm it causes, not only to the individual, but also to the wider community. Lying and spreading rumors are also harmful because they can create unnecessary conflict. When people hear rumors, they form judgments based on incomplete or incorrect information. This can lead to quarrels, misunderstandings, and even hatred between individuals or groups. In some cases, rumors can destroy friendships, families, and communities. We must stay away from people who lie and spread rumors. They are a source of harm, not only to others, but to themselves as well. Lying and gossiping are behaviors that destroy trust, damage relationships, and distance us from Allah. As Muslims, we must strive to uphold the values of honesty, integrity, and kindness in all of our interactions. By doing so, we contribute to a more peaceful, loving, and righteous community. May Allah guide us to always speak the truth and avoid the destructive consequences of falsehood. Stay away from people who promote arrogance and pride. Arrogance and pride are two of the most dangerous traits that can corrupt a person's heart and soul. They are not just negative traits but represent a deep-rooted arrogance against the very essence of being human. Pride blinds individuals to their weaknesses, flaws, and their dependence on Allah. In Islam, humility is one of the highest virtues, and those who allow arrogance to take root in their hearts are walking a dangerous path that can ultimately lead them away from the mercy of Allah. Being around people who promote arrogance and pride can have a profound impact on one's own character, and Islam urges us to stay away from such individuals for our own spiritual well-being. When we think of pride, we often think of individuals who hold themselves in high regard, looking down on others and belittling them. Arrogance is a trait that is associated with self-exaltation and a lack of empathy for others. It is a mentality that leads people to believe they are superior to others based on their wealth, status, knowledge, or personal achievements. Islam teaches us that no matter how much we achieve or how capable we become, we are all ultimately dependent on Allah and His mercy. Staying away from people who promote arrogance and pride is essential for maintaining a humble heart and a strong connection with Allah. Arrogance leads to self-delusion, breaks down relationships, and creates barriers to spiritual growth. By surrounding ourselves with people who promote humility and righteousness, we protect ourselves from these harmful traits and ensure that we remain on the path of true success in this life and the hereafter. May Allah guide us to always remain humble and to avoid the traps of arrogance and pride. Stay away from people who neglect their duties to Allah. In life, we are all given a set of responsibilities and duties that we must fulfill, not only towards our families, friends, and society, but most importantly towards Allah. Our ultimate purpose in this world is to worship Allah and live a life that pleases Him by following the teachings of Islam. Neglecting our duties to Allah is not just a minor mistake, it is a serious spiritual issue that can lead to a loss of blessings and a distance from the mercy of Allah. It is essential for us to be mindful of the people we surround ourselves with, as their actions and behaviors have a profound impact on our own hearts and minds. The companions we choose can either help us remain focused on our worship and duties to Allah, or can lead us astray. People who neglect their duties to Allah often make excuses for not performing their religious obligations. They may claim that they are too busy with work, studies, or personal matters, but in reality, they are prioritizing the wrong things. The world will always present us with distractions, and it is up to us to make time for what truly matters. Allah is the one who gives us success and sustenance, and it is He who has given us the time and energy to fulfill our duties. Therefore, it is essential to recognize the value of our religious obligations and not fall into the trap of neglecting them. Surrounding ourselves with people who neglect their duties to Allah can lead us to fall into the same mindset. We may begin to prioritize worldly success and material wealth over our religious duties, forgetting the true purpose of our existence. This is why it is so crucial to choose our companions wisely, people who are consistent in their worship, who encourage us to pray on time, to fast during Ramadan, to give charity, and to remember Allah in our daily lives, are the ones who will help us grow closer to Allah. They will remind us of our purpose and motivate us to stay on the right path. It is essential to stay away from people who neglect their duties to Allah, as their actions can lead us astray and cause us to lose sight of our true purpose in life. Neglecting our religious obligations can have serious consequences in this life and the hereafter. By choosing companions who are committed to their worship and who remind us of our duties to Allah, we can stay focused on our path and continue to grow spiritually. May Allah guide us all to fulfill our duties to Him and to stay away from those who lead us away from His remembrance and worship. As we conclude this discussion, remember that our relationship with Allah is the most important aspect of our lives. Surrounding ourselves with people who neglect their duties to Allah can lead us away from our purpose and cause us to lose sight of what truly matters. Always strive to choose companions who help you stay focused on your worship, who encourage you to fulfill your religious obligations, and who remind you of the importance of staying connected to Allah. May Allah guide us all to fulfill our duties to Him and protect us from the influence of those who lead us astray. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Deen Explorers for more insightful content that helps us grow in our faith. Stay blessed, and always remember that your connection with Allah should be your top priority in everything you do. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. If Allah has created a barrier somewhere, it probably means He doesn't want it to happen. But do you understand that? Often the answer is no. Why? Because many people do not truly grasp the meaning of the simple yet powerful dua they repeat, known as the istikhara dua. People come and say, "Sheikh, please tell us how to perform istikhara." So the sheikh explains, you pray 2 units of salah with sincerity, you read the prescribed supplication, and then you ask Allah for guidance. That's it. But what do people expect afterward? They wait. Waiting for what? A sign. And what's the most common sign people anticipate? A dream. Yes, a dream. But go back and read the meaning of the istikhara dua. It has nothing to do with dreams. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, never taught us that a dream is required after istikhara. He said, when one of you is concerned about a matter, let him pray 2 rak'ahs, then say the istikhara supplication. Sahih al-Bukhari, Hadith. Nowhere in the dua do you say, "O Allah, show me green in a dream." Instead you say, "O Allah, if this matter is good for my deen, faith, my livelihood, and my final outcome, then make it easy for me, facilitate it, and put blessings in it." That's what you say. So what happens when things become difficult? What if your parents are against it, all the doors are closing, and everything seems blocked? Then that is your answer. Let's reflect on the second part of the dua. "O Allah, if this matter is bad for my deen, my livelihood, and my final outcome, then turn it away from me and turn me away from it, and decree for me what is good wherever it may be, and make me pleased with it." So if all the roads are blocked, it's a sign from Allah that He doesn't want it to happen. Now people ask, when do I recognize the sign? Ask yourself, have you tried your best? Have you explained your case, involved scholars or elders, spoken with wisdom and patience? And despite all that, is there still no movement, or worse, are things going the opposite way? Are people becoming threatening or aggressive? If so, close the door and move on. But I can't, some say. Sometimes it feels impossible because the emotional attachment has gone so deep and you're now embarrassed to pull back. But you can still pull back. Don't be afraid. Never mind the past. Maybe Allah is telling you, better now than later. But people still say, I can't. Yes, you can. May Allah make it easy. On this earth we don't always get everything we want. At times we must compromise, even with big things. That's part of Allah's wisdom. Allah knows what kind of children you would have from the person you desire to marry. Maybe He knows they would not be a source of comfort for you. So even if the person seems kind and decent, Allah may want to guide you to someone else for a better outcome. As He says, perhaps you hate something and it is good for you, and perhaps you love something and it is bad for you. Allah knows while you know not. Surah Al-Baqarah. This doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Of course you should. You can involve scholars, seek advice, and attempt to bridge gaps, especially when you believe the opposition is based on cultural bias or misunderstanding. But at the same time, you need to reflect deeply. Let's face reality. You didn't live with the person. You know them from school or work, and you only saw their public side. But go home and see how they live, how they treat their family, how the household functions. You might discover red flags you never expect. Sometimes people get married and then realize, this is not what I thought it would be. The family may treat you with disrespect. You may find yourself in a house where no one wants to speak to you. What are you going to do in such a place? Face reality. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment. Still people say, but this is the only one I want. Subhanallah. No sooner do they get married than they realize this was a mistake. But even then, you can still get out. Islam does not encourage divorce, but it allows it when needed. If you recognize the red flags, don't assume you'll fix everything later. Seek help. This discussion could go on, especially when we consider how global and multicultural our communities have become. Often second or third generation Muslims living in the West find that they relate better to people who grew up in similar environments, even if from different ethnic backgrounds. Islam does not promote racial or cultural superiority, but Islam does encourage you to recognize and respect differences in culture and communication style. As Allah said, O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female, and made you peoples and tribes, that you may know one another. Surah Al-Hujurat. So yes, acknowledge those differences, when choosing a spouse. See who you will live with. Where will you stay? What kind of in-laws will you have? Will you be accepted and respected? All these are important questions. And finally, if you make sincere istikhara and find that the path gets harder instead of easier, that is a sign that Allah does not want it for you. Trust Him. Don't break family ties for someone Allah is turning you away from. When Allah wants something to happen, He makes it easy, and when He does not, He places obstacles. So pause and reflect. Trust in Allah's qadr. He knows what your heart doesn't, and remember, whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. Surah At-Talaq. May Allah grant us all clarity in our decisions, righteous spouses, beautiful families, and peaceful homes. May He forgive our shortcomings and make us content with His decree.